Okay, it's 12:03. I think we can get started. All right, great. Well, welcome to our webinar on EVs coming soon. It's the end of the year, so we're seeing a lot of 2026 EVs being introduced, and some have already entered the market and are at dealerships near you. I'll take a moment to introduce myself and let my colleagues introduce themselves as well. Now, my name is Caroline. I'm an electric vehicle program associate on the Drive Green team at Green Energy Consumers Alliance, and I'll be leading most of the presentation today. And I'll give the floor to my colleagues.
Hi, everybody. My name is Anna. I'm our electric vehicle program director, and I will be in the chat and helping to answer any questions. So if you do have any questions, please put them in the chat and I'll answer them, and so will Ariane. Ariane, go ahead.
Hi everyone, I'm Ariane. I'm the clean transportation intern here. And like Anna said, I'll also be helping to answer any questions. Thanks.
Okay, awesome. We'll get started. So just to remind you, this webinar is being recorded. We will upload the recording to our YouTube and our Drive Green page later today. Additionally, closed captions are available. If you would like them, there should be an option for closed captions at the bottom of your screen. In terms of logistics, we will have attendees muted throughout the webinar, and we will have a Q&A section at the end of the webinar. There is a Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. We will make sure to send the recording and presentation slides to you in your email. To give a little bit of context about us, we're reporting here today from the Drive Green team at Green Energy Consumers Alliance. We're a nonprofit organization based in Massachusetts and Rhode Island, and our organizational mission is to empower consumers and communities to speed a just transition to a zero carbon world. Today, we will get into EVs coming soon, but we'll look at a few different items that are important to understanding EVs in the market, particularly sticker price. So we will define MSRP. We'll look at plug types, we'll look at drivetrain and what that means for your EV, as well as charging and state rebates. And we'll follow with EVs coming soon by sedan type, SUVs, and larger trucks. So yeah, stay tuned, and we'll explore new EVs that are entering the market soon. It's first important to define the MSRP. This stands for the manufacturer suggested retail price. Essentially, it is the dollar amount at which the automaker recommends the dealership list the vehicle. This means that that sticker price that you see on an EV is that MSRP, or manufacturer suggested retail price. You might ask what the MSRP includes. Often it'll include the base price for the particular trim that you were looking at, as well as any additional features that are added to the base model and are available at the particular trim you're looking at. There's also a destination charge that is often added into the MSRP. That destination charge is essentially a fee for transporting the vehicle from the automaker to the dealership. It'll cover the standard warranty and service coverage as well. Next, we'll move into plug types. There are a few different plug types that we'll look at. It's important to understand that there are 3 levels of charging. There's level 1, which is considered a trickle charge, the slowest type of charging out there. Level 1 will utilize 110 volt outlet or universal outlet that are within most homes and offices. NACS, or the North American Charging Standard, can be used for all 3 levels of charging. And then a common port that is being phased out is called the J1772 port. Here's what it looks like on the left. And level 2 is faster than level 1. It is commonly used at home. I think more EV owners that are able to charge at home might utilize level 2, and that would require often an electrician to come in and install a 220 volt outlet. This outlet powers heavier appliances like a washing machine, for example. And that charging speed ranges from 11 to 54 miles of range per hour. Again, NACS, that port is visible on the left and on the right, can be used at levels 1, 2, and for DC fast charging. DC fast charging is also called level 3. It is the fastest level of charging because it utilizes a lot of power. And because of that, DC fast charging is only done at public charging stations. And most EVs, when they're being charged DC fast charging, can reach anywhere from 10 or 20 to 80% of the full charge in 30 minutes. And you'll notice these images of these ports. These are what the ports look like. So your EV will be equipped with one of the ports that are on this slide. Often we'll see a J1772 combo, which means you can access a DC fast charger that has a CCS port. That is the J1772 combo, but more commonly now, with NACS being rolled out, which we'll cover on the next slide, your EV might either have the J1772 plug, or if it's a newer EV, it might be equipped with the NACS port as a native feature. If you have a J1772 plug or a CCS plug on your EV, then you might use a NACS adapter to be able to access the Tesla supercharging network. So we will move on to talk a little bit more about NACS in the next slide. NACS, or the North American Charging Standard, comes from the Tesla charging port. It is used again for all 3 levels of charging, and all EVs are compatible with NACS and the Tesla supercharging network when using a NACS adapter. Newer, some late 2025 models and more early 2026 models have the NACS port as a native feature, and then will eliminate the need for a NACS adapter. All major automakers had signed on to NACS and Tesla earlier in 2023 and had begun rolling out and distributing their own NACS adapters to their consumers. In many cases, in the beginning of 2024, some of major automakers were delivering and distributing NACS adapters at a free cost, for free, to their EV drivers, but more frequently now, NACS adapters are available for purchase. There are many Tesla supercharger stations and ports across the United States. Here we have a map, and all of those red dots are Tesla superchargers, so very built out, and as EV charging infrastructure continues to grow, having access to a NACS adapter is incredibly important to make sure that you can access a reliable charger on your drive. So currently there are almost 33,000 Tesla supercharger ports across the United States. And if you might ask how you might be able to access a Tesla supercharger, whether your EV or an EV you're interested in does not have an NACS port as a native feature. Mentioned before that starting from 2023 and onward, most automakers had begun manufacturing and distributing NACS adapters. Some were available for free and others for purchase. More frequently, they're available for purchase now. And every major automaker might have their own approved NACS adapter. While there are other NACS adapters available for purchase on other purchasing sites like Amazon, it can be important to try to utilize a NACS adapter that has been approved by your automaker. Essentially, you would plug the NACS adapter into your EV's charging port into a Tesla supercharger and charge your EV. While charging infrastructure continues to grow, and there are a lot of more charging stations that are publicly accessible, the Tesla supercharging station has been built out for a while, so this access to them helps to just boost access all across the board to fast charging options. Yeah, and in early 2025, so we backtracked earlier this year, a few 2025 model year EVs entered the market and had that NACS board as a native feature. So some of these were the 2025 Hyundai Ioniq 5, as well as the 2025 Kia EV6. On the right, you can see what a NACS adapter looks like in case you haven't seen one before. And some of the EVs we'll look at today will have a NACS adapter as a native port, eliminating the need to purchase or get an adapter. Then secondly, we'll talk about drivetrain briefly. It's important to get a basic understanding of drivetrain when we're looking at different EVs on the market. Essentially, a drivetrain consists of the mechanical parts that will transfer power from the battery to the wheels. And so the drivetrain causes the wheels to move and turn, bringing your EV to drive. And different models will have different drivetrain types. You'll often see forward wheel drive or rear wheel drive or all wheel drive as some examples. And these relate to single motor, for example, which will power the front or rear wheels. So you might see forward wheel drive or rear wheel drive at a particular trim you're looking at. And the drivetrain will often vary by the trim you're looking at. And dual motor is another example that will often be seen with an all-wheel drive or an all-wheel drive option. What dual motor will do, it basically, from a more technical perspective, it takes two motors at each axle and helps the EV to get greater traction, contributing to that all-wheel drive capability. Multi-motor is something else that we've seen, which is often seen with something called quad wheel drive, and QWD as an abbreviation. This might be seen in a higher end or more costly trim. And what it will take at a more technical level is it'll use multiple motors per wheel and is associated with a good torque. And drivetrain as a concept is not to be confused with powertrain, for example. You might read about powertrain when you are reading about EVs and local offerings. Powertrain refers to the whole system that creates and delivers power to the wheels, whereas drivetrain is really just the individual parts that bring power to the wheels, hence the single motor, dual motor, and multi-motor options. But at a more common level, drivetrain can be thought of as rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, or forward-wheel drive. Perfect. You'll notice on the right, we have a little bit of a graphic that helps to explain that technical definition of like what a drivetrain does and how that contributes to your EV moving on the road. And you might ask yourself, now that I know about these different drivetrain options, how to choose the right drivetrain for you. There are a couple of things to take in consideration, mainly your driving pattern and the conditions in which you'll be driving on. For context, all-wheel drive or electric all-wheel drive might be a good idea if you're looking to do some off-road driving or if you're driving in more winter conditions. Mainly in New England, I think our winters haven't been as harsh, but if you are driving the mountains or driving on an unpaved road, that could be something you consider, especially if you're driving on ice. So an all-wheel drive might provide better traction and handling. But if you're driving primarily in the city to work or to wherever else in your city or suburb, forward-wheel drive is a great option. Some drivers might prefer a sporty feel, so rear-wheel drive or quad-wheel drive might be an option that you consider. Like I mentioned, different trims per model will often have different drivetrain options. Forward-wheel drive tends to be one of the more affordable options and generally is accompanied with a base trim. Base trim refers to the entry-level trim that generally has a lower price tag. And although like some of these drivetrain abbreviations might be a little bit complex. When you're looking at your EV on the manufacturer website, you can often compare the different terms that are available, or on our EV Finder, for example, and it'll help to explain drivetrain in a simple way. And then additionally, tires can be a good consideration. When you purchase or lease your EV, of course, it'll come with tires that will certainly serve you well, but it is true that an EV might perform better with special tires. So whether you change your tires is completely up to you, but the next couple of slides might serve as a good resource if you decide to explore other tire options. And there are a few reasons why an EV will perform better with special tires, mainly being that EVs are heavier generally than gas cars because the battery is heavy. And an EV's electric range being enhanced, as well as its fast acceleration capability, can be further enhanced with special tires. Tires generally should be more structurally rigid and maintain a higher air pressure. EVs have a high torque, meaning they're able to accelerate fast. So the tire should withstand that instant torque. More technically speaking, tires should have a high roll resistance, and a good tire might make the ride quiet. Whereas a tire that might not work well with you or your driving patterns might make the ride a little bit more loud. But with all that in mind, we took some resources from Recurrent Auto's guide on best tires for EVs in 2025. I won't spend too much time on this slide, but wanted to provide this as a resource. This is a great guide. So essentially what we're seeing here is a list and ranking of Recurrent Auto's recommended tires for EVs this year. And their ranking takes into account budget, EVs that the tires might be most compatible with, tire size, and particular season that you are driving. So this is a good resource if you're looking to explore or learn more about other tires that might work well with your EV. I'll leave this here, and this will be linked in our slides when we send them out. And we'll move on to the state rebates before we get into some of the EVs that are coming soon. Remind you that More EV is the rebate program in Massachusetts. It is run by the Department of Energy Resources and the Center for Sustainable Energy, which is a national nonprofit. Under the More EV program, there are a subset of different rebates. $3,500 is the amount for the standard rebate for new EVs, and $3,500 is the amount for More EV used or eligible used EVs. Income qualifying residents, so residents that might have an adjusted gross income under a specific limit, or residents who are participating in a low-income qualifying program like SNAP, Mass Health, or LIHEAP, for example, might be eligible for More EV Plus, which is an additional rebate adder of $1,500. More EV trade-in is another additional rebate. It's $1,000 for trading in an eligible old gas car. The More EV program offers rebates for electric pickup trucks as well, and other Class 2B vehicles, which are heavier pickup trucks, and that is $7,500. A few of the rebates can be offered at the point of sale, mainly being More EV Standard, More EV Used, and More EV Plus. With all that in mind, here we have a big rebate overview of the different rebates that I just mentioned under the program. Note that More EV Used and More EV Plus have a star next to them. It means that a pre-qualification voucher is required. Essentially, you would create an account. The More EV website is very user-friendly. Once you create an account, you can upload a text transcript, for example, to that pre-qualification voucher. Essentially just confirms that your adjusted gross income is under the income limit for More EV Used and More EV Plus. And again, More EV Standard, More EV Used, and More EV Plus can be received at the point of sale. More information about income limits can be found on the More EV website, so moreev.org. If you live in Rhode Island offers rebates for EVs and plug-in hybrids. This is a notable difference. I'll mention More EV, which I just mentioned, only covers battery electric vehicles and fuel cell EVs. Fuel cell EVs typically aren't on the road around us, generally are mostly on the road in California. But if you are considering an EV or plug-in hybrid and live in Rhode Island, it's worth taking a moment to learn about the Drive EV rebate program. Fuel cell EVs are counted under this program as well. So essentially, Drive EV covers rebates for new and used battery electric vehicles and plug-in hybrids, and Drive EV Plus is an income qualifying rebate adder for eligible lower income Rhode Island residents. If you were thinking of a new EV, that's at $1,500 for a battery electric vehicle. And for a new plug-in hybrid, that is $1,000 that can be added for a plug-in hybrid. If you were thinking of a used, that amount for a battery electric vehicle becomes $1,000. And then for a used plug-in hybrid, you're looking at a rebate of $750. And on the right, we'll have the amounts for Drive EV Plus. The Drive EV program website is linked to the slide, which you'll have access to when we send the slides out, which will have more information about how to obtain the rebates and income qualifying levels. Okay, so we'll begin to move on to the main topics of our presentation, being EVs coming soon. But before we get into it, it's important to note that the federal tax credit ended on September 30th of this year, unfortunately. So we are in a wait and see moment as to whether major automakers might offer their own incentives in lieu of the federal tax credit. Many of the new and upcoming EVs that we will mention, which are not all yet available, should certainly qualify for the Massachusetts and Rhode Island state rebates. But not all of those pages, meaning moreev.org and the Drive EV program website, have been updated because not all of the new and upcoming EVs have entered dealership lots near you. So first, we'll talk about some sedans and crossovers, some new electric sedans that have entered the market near us. Very exciting. So we'll start with the Kia EV4. It's a 2026 model. This is Kia's first electric sedan. This has a starting price of $39,000 to $49,000, depending on the particular trim you're looking at. Similarly, that electric range ranges from 235 to 330 miles, and that range will depend on the base trim or a higher end trim. For drivetrain, it's forward-wheel drive. The Kia EV4 is equipped with a NACS port, and according to the Kia website, the EV4 will offer two battery sizes. So the base trim will offer a battery of 59 kilowatt hours, and the higher trim will offer a battery of 81 kilowatt hours. The Kia EV4 has vehicle to load capabilities, which is exciting. You might charge your smartphone or another appliance, depending on where you are. So with the two battery sizes being available, the smaller, more standard base trim will have the lower end of the 235-mile range, whereas the larger battery will be accompanied with a secondary or third level trim and have that higher end of that electric range. And in terms of release date, the Kia EV4 is expected to arrive at dealerships near you in early 2026. And then secondly, another sedan we'll look at is the Dodge Charger Daytona Scatback EV. It's a long name, but that starting price ranges from around $58,955 to $71,215. There's a typo there. So that price again will range depending on the trim you're looking at. This might be ideal for some drivers prefer a sporty feel. Dodge Charger tends to make more sporty looking vehicles, but this electric range is around 270 miles, and the Daytona Scat Pack EV will come with an all-wheel drive and a rear-wheel drive option. It will have a CCS port, but a NACS adapter should be available. You'll notice that this EV has 4 doors, and this is a change from earlier gas versions of previous Dodge Charger models, which often will have 2 doors. One thing to note is this the Dodge Charger Daytona Scat Pack will have 20-inch wheels, and that battery is expected to be around 94 kilowatts. The Daytona Scat Pack EV is expected to arrive at dealerships near you in the spring of 2026. Okay, we'll move on to the Chevy Bolt. So the Chevy Bolt is reimagined as an SUV this time around and has a starting price around $54,900 to close to $72,000. And this price might change for sure. You'll notice when we look at charging, you might notice to be announced. This is because with some of the EVs that are not yet available, we took information that is available and where predictions were made, we tried to make that clear. But so that price could change or fluctuate a little bit in the coming days. But for certain, the Bolt is expected to have a higher range than before, with around 280 to 305 miles, depending on the particular trim you're looking at. The 2026 Chevy Bolt will incorporate General Motors Ultium battery. So that is a new battery technology that GM has implemented in some of its other EVs. So an enhanced battery will allow for faster charging, most likely at level 2 and at DC fast charging. It's expected to hit dealerships near us in the spring of 2026. And this is an exciting one. You know that earlier Bolts were popular among used EV owners. We'll move on to SUVs. There are quite a few more SUVs than other sedans and trucks, particularly for the focus of today. We will begin with some electric SUVs that are available now. One version that is available now is the 2026 Chevy Equinox EV. So this was actually released, I think, just a few days ago. Again, the Chevy Equinox, like its 2025 sibling, has a more affordable starting price comparatively to some of the other EVs of a similar size. It's a compact crossover SUV with a starting price of $35,000 to around $44,000. That electric range varies from 307 miles to 319 miles. And drivetrain ranges as well from all-wheel drive to forward-wheel drive. In both electric range and drivetrain vary depending on the trim that you're looking at. So in terms of charging, the 2026 Chevy Equinox EV has a CCS port that comes with a NACS adapter so that you can use the adapter and plug into a Tesla supercharging station. That battery is expected to be or have a battery capacity of 85 kilowatt hours. Excitingly, this model year Chevy Equinox EV has vehicle-to-home capabilities, and the all-wheel drive version has 300 horsepower, essentially helping the EV to accelerate faster. Whereas the forward-wheel drive will have a 224 horsepower and have a higher end of that range. Now, we'll move on to our next SUV. Now we're looking at the Hyundai Ioniq 9. So this is a 7-seater large SUV with a starting price of around $59,000 to around $71,000. We're looking at an electric range of 311 to 320 miles. The Hyundai Ioniq 9 will contain a NACS port as a native feature, making it one of the first non-Tesla EVs on the market that have a NACS port as a native feature. In terms of drivetrain, we're looking at all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive options. The Hyundai Ioniq 9 is expected to reach a full charge when charging at level 2 in 9 hours and 40 minutes. Its battery has a capacity of 110.3 kilowatt hours and is expected to reach 10 to 80% of a full charge in 40 minutes. Likely that is a 20 to 80% in 30 minutes as well, if you're looking to cut down on time. Luckily, the Ioniq 9 is available now. like the Chevy Equinox version as well. So I recommend checking out dealerships near you if you're interested in either of those. I'll mention that for the last two vehicles that are currently available, they likely will be eligible for the More EV program if you live in Massachusetts, but the More EV program website, given that these vehicles were just released recently, has not yet been updated to account for these new releases. Move on to the Kia EV9. This is a 6 or a 7-seater, so again, a bigger SUV like that of the Hyundai Ioniq 9. That starting price is comparable, starting around $54,000 or $55,000 to around $72,000 if we're rounding up, and it has a comparable electric range as well, ranging from 280 to 305 miles. The EV9 will come with all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive options, varying on trim. And it will have a NACS port as a native feature, which is exciting. Battery capacities will vary depending on the trim that you're looking at, with a base trim having a 76.1 kilowatt-hour battery capacity and the more higher level trims having a battery capacity of 99.8 kilowatt-hours. Charging speed for DC fast charging is currently unknown, but we'll hope to determine that soon. The EV9 is available currently, and there are new color options as well with the 2026 version. I'll mention that there are new color options with most of the EVs we're looking at, where the 2026 model year follows from a 2025 or previous version on the market. And we'll move on with the Nissan Leaf. Previously, the Nissan Leaf was a sedan, but it is again reimagined as an SUV. Now, this has a more affordable price, comparable, or if we're comparing it with a couple of the other SUVs that we've looked at thus far. So it'll start around $29,000, close to 30, with a higher range being close to $39,000. Nissan has mentioned that their goal is to market the Nissan Leaf as less than $30,000, so we don't expect that base price to increase. The Nissan Leaf will have a boosted electric range than earlier model years, ranging from 259 to 303 miles. It comes in forward wheel drive, and it'll have a NACS port as a native feature. Excitingly, the Nissan Leaf is vehicle to load capable, as are previous model year versions of the Nissan Leaf, and battery size will depend on which trim you're looking at. It's expected to hit the market soon. According to the sources that we looked at, it's expected to hit the market this fall, but that might change depending on supply. We'll move on with the Subaru Trailseeker. So this is one of Subaru's 2 or 3 new EVs following its Solterra, which was its first electric EV, completely battery electric. The Trailseeker has a starting price ranging from $45,000 to $52,000. And its range is a little bit smaller than some of the other EVs we've looked at. So this has a 260-mile range. It'll have a dual motor drivetrain, which will help support its all-wheel drive option. It will have a NACS port as a native feature, and that battery size will vary depending on the trim that you're looking at. As for DC fast charging speed, there isn't yet information out about that particular speed, and the Subaru Trailseeker was announced not too long ago, so we're not yet sure when the Trailseeker will arrive at dealership lots. Then lastly, we have the Acura RSX. So the Acura RSX was first introduced in 2002 as a gas car. I believe was stopped being sold in 2006. So this is now a new electric RSX after some time, and it comes with lots of updates. That starting price is around $55,000 if you're rounding up to around $72,000, again, depending on trim. In terms of electric range, we're starting at a base trim with 280 miles, with higher end trims having a 305 mile electric range. Drivetrain will vary as well, and the RSX EV comes with all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive. The 2026 RSX is expected to have a NACS port, so eliminating the need to have on hand a NACS adapter. It's expected to reach a full, or 10 to 80% of a full charge in 30 minutes when charging at a DC fast charging station. The Core RSX is expected to hit the market in 2026. And then as our last SUV, we'll be looking at the Rivian R1S. And this is one of the more expensive SUVs that we've looked at thus far, with a MSRP ranging from around $79,000 to close to $132,000. I wanted to include it because it has an incredible electric range, meaning 410 miles. It has a NACS port, and it will also come with a CCS adapter if you happen to be at a charging station that has a CCS port, so you would be able to plug in. That drivetrain will be all-wheel drive, and additionally, with the 2026 version of the R1S, its all-wheel drive train will be supported by a quad motor, and this vehicle has a 10 really, really high horsepower, which helps with better traction if you're into off-roading with your vehicle. Exciting to see what the frunk will look like within this particular model year version, because Rivian's frunks have been pretty big and incredible in the past. So this summarizes our section on SUVs. If you have any questions or wish we covered a different vehicle thus far, let us know in the comments or in the Q&A. Then we have a couple of trucks that we'll cover. I guess no more room for surprises because I sped past, but we'll start with the Chevy Silverado EV. This is an impressive range, ranging from 283 to 478 miles. That is a pretty big variance. It will depend on the particular trim that you're looking at. The Silverado EV can tow up to 12,500 pounds. It's a big truck coming in four-wheel drive. It's equipped with a CCS port, but it will come with a NACS adapter. So you can charge at a Tesla supercharging station or at a DC fast charging station that uses a CCS port plug. And it'll have a larger battery than some we've looked at already, with its battery having a capacity of 200 kilowatt hours. Particularly with this EV, its tires are advertised to be all-terrain tires, and it accelerates quick as well, reaching up to 60 miles per hour in 4.1 seconds. That's a powerful truck we're looking at, and move on to our other truck. We're also highlighting the Jeep's Recon EV. Now, if you are at all a fan of the Jeep Wrangler, this is an all-electric similar version. The Recon EV is estimated to start around $60,000 and fall between $70,000 in terms of price range. That electric range will be 250 to around 300 miles. Again, that is expected. It is expected to come with an all-wheel drivetrain that has been confirmed thus far. Fortunately, charging speed at both level 2 and battery size has not yet been confirmed, so we put to be announced. And it is expected to be released and arrive at dealerships near us at the end of this year into winter, spring of 2026. So there's a lot left to be known with the Jeep Recon EV, but what is really exciting is that similarly to the Jeep Wrangler, comes in a same drivetrain, being all-wheel drive, and has removable doors. So yeah, that covers our section on new EVs for sedans, SUVs, and trucks. Of course, we didn't cover all of the new EVs that are out there. We did our best to show a diverse mix. But we will be publishing our fall car corner soon, where we'll cover a little bit more in depth some EVs, some other EVs that are available now, as well as some EVs that are coming up soon. Our EV Finder is a great resource should you be curious about EVs that are currently available, and has been updated to reflect some of the 2026 model year versions that we looked at this year that are already available. That is linked here. And then before we move into the Q&A, I'll highlight we have our fall meeting coming up on November 12th. If you'd like to join us, more information will be linked here. Lastly, we're a nonprofit, so if you feel inclined to support our mission and donate, that donation page will be linked here as well. But I think we can move on to the Q&A if we have any particular questions in the chat. Let's see.
We've just had one so far. Sorry, it took me a minute to unmute, which is basically, can you buy a BYD vehicle in the United States? Caroline, do you want to take that and also explain what BYD is?
Yeah, so BYD is a automaker from China. I do not know of any BYDs being sold in the United States. I believe that if you were to buy a BYD, the tariffs would be incredibly expensive. So you would pay a 100% tariff fee, that would double the price of the EV to bring that EV to you. I'm not particularly certain about some of BYD's charging ports, because other countries do use a different charging standard. So I'm not sure that the charging options that are available in the United States would be compatible with the EV that you're looking at. Anna, do you have anything to add on that front?
I'll say that the tariffs are definitely one part of this. BYD is making the calculation that if they were to try and sell their vehicles here, they would be a lot more expensive than if they're selling them anywhere else in the globe where there's a big demand for this. The other part is that in order to be sold here, they would have to go through a series of tests with the federal government and basically get approval to be sold here, and BYD has not done that. So BYD is selling vehicles in Mexico, in Brazil, in Singapore, and Vietnam, and Thailand, like all over the world, but not in the United States.
Okay. Oh, we got another question. The new question is, are these vehicles able to use the full Tesla charging network, or are they limited to a subset of the full network? So essentially, all vehicles that have access to a NACS adapter or to a NACS port as a native feature would be able to access the full Tesla supercharging network.
I will make one clarifying point, though, is that it's only Tesla superchargers of a certain vintage that technically can enable that. So Tesla is not saying these charging stations we will open up and these ones we don't because of some sort of strategic decision. It's just that it has to be a supercharger version something and above to qualify. But every app that you can use to navigate will let you check off like NACS adapter compatible is the word I'm looking for. So sometimes that question is meant in one way and sometimes it's meant in the other way. So I hope that answered the question that you asked.
I'll also just add that's where the value of PlugShare comes in, and other charging apps that can show you where your car is compatible to charge, depending on the filters that you place, and also the charging network that works with your vehicle as well.
We have a third question. Someone was asking whether there is an adapter for J1772 home chargers to charge cars that have a NACS port.
Not yet.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that covers it. Yeah. Yeah.
The adapters right now are focused on the DC portion and less on the level 2. Although there is, sorry, I should clarify, there is for Tesla vehicles, there is an adapter for them to use a level 2 charger that is not NACS. What I actually don't know the answer to is whether that same adapter would work for other vehicles where the NACS port is natively built in. That is a research question that we can dig into, though.
Awesome. I'm not seeing any more questions. If you have another question, I encourage you to write it in. Otherwise, I think we can wait a minute or two, maybe call it a day.
I'll put in the chat our email address if you do have any further questions, but you'll also get the recording and the slides from Caroline soon and can always respond to that too.
Okay, well, seeing as there are no further questions, I think we can call it for this webinar. Thank you for joining us. Hope that you learned a little bit more about some of the EVs that are coming soon. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us. We'll share the recording and slides soon with the link to our EV Finder, as well as Recurrent Auto's Best Tires Guide. All right. Thanks so much, everyone, and have a good day. Bye-bye.